Hello, my name is Kimberly Drew, and I am so excited to be in conversation today with Silvia. I am really thrilled to be in conversation with you today because I am a relatively new fan of your work. As part of this pandemic moment, like many, I've tried to find projects and activities to keep myself sane, to find enjoyment, to make peace with the world, which is definitely parts of the conversation that I want to have with you today, especially because your work is one that I found in creating this art newsletter called Something I Saw. And I was completely taken away by your photographs, by the staging, by, of course, thinking about the practice of studio photography, and further taken away by what brought you there. And so I wonder, just for anyone who is tuning into this video, obviously it's a virtual exhibition, if you could maybe start with a description of your work, the work that is featured in this exhibition, and then we can take it from there.
So the image that it's on exhibition at the National Portrait Gallery is a self-portrait. It is titled Self-Portrait as My Father, and it's somehow a fictional representation of my natural father and an attempt to make a portrait of someone I never met. So I use different elements to build this image. First of all, the image is shot in the studio setting, which references my family album, but also on a wider sense, the history of West African studio portraiture. I use head carrying in the work, which I experienced while visiting markets around West Africa, but it's something that I associate to with labor, in particular female labor and resilience inside the market. And yeah, in the portrait, I use my own body, kind of playing on the physical resemblance that I have with my father, but also on the idea, that is migration in a way influenced the person I am, and sort of my position as a Black person living in Europe. And yeah, lastly, the image is kind of built on this idea of storytelling, and I use different elements in the work that come from stories that my mother told me, of my father and of their migration, and all of that comes into the image.
I'm just so jazzed because I think when I encountered your photographs, there's, of course, this incredible richness of color and texture. I think that there's something that's really profound that happens in self-portraiture, where perhaps for some artists, there is an intimacy with yourself, which is profound and unique. And especially as a Black person, it's so important for us to be able to make our own images on our own terms. And then more broadly, there is, of course, this like confrontation that happens where you're sitting either with genealogies, personal histories, maybe that, spot on your face that you don't like and you have to, take out and post. It can be these, really low level things or really high level things dependent on who we are as people. And so I appreciate you grounding the work and practice there. I wonder if you could talk a bit about the legacy of studio photographs. I'm just going to pull quickly this Malik Sibade quote that I found that I really loved. And he was asked by the publication, how do you choose what to cover? And what he responded was, you don't choose, you are called. And he goes on to talk about, more what the studios did in terms of like commissions, and people came to have, their Sunday's best photographed, or he would travel to parties. But I really love the first part of that quote. You are called.
Yeah, I really see myself in this quote, and this idea of the call, because in a sense, the way I take images is very much inspired by my family album. So being a young kid and having a look through all of those images that kind of stuck in my head, and then so yeah, the studio is very important to me. Not only because it's something that I encountered later on, but it's also something that my parents took with them from Togo in the physical form of a print, like a small object, a studio photograph, and carried with them throughout the journey, and now sits yeah, in a cupboard in my house here in Italy. So I think, yeah, all of that, it's so important in my practice and in my life in general.